Hey everybody, this is Mr. Richmond checking in on you from quarantine. Hope everybody's doing okay. Kind of miss you guys. Figured I would take a few minutes today and just kind of let you know what's going on as far as really what's going on overall, but also what's going on as far as the course goes and also your AP tests, because like it or not, those AP tests are still coming up on us. So I'm going to hope that this video is as quick as we possibly can make it, but I'm really hoping that it does answer a lot of your questions. I know a lot of you guys have been trying to email me and just get a general sense of what's going on. To be perfectly honest, I haven't really known very much, which is sort of why I've been as quiet as I have been. But we did get a bunch of information out yesterday, and so I'm sharing that with you today. I would strongly encourage that maybe you even share this video with your parents so that they can know what's going on as well. And you definitely should expect a lot more from me in the days and weeks ahead. So this video will apply to both AP Psychology and AP World because you guys are kind of both in the same boat in that regard. So let's talk about just what's going on overall, because I know a lot of you have had questions, and you know it is a little bit tricky out there. There's a lot of different there's a lot of back and forth as to what's really going on. So if you're not aware, for right now, New York's schools are closed until April 29th, along with any non-essential businesses. So we're at least going to be through the rest of this month without school. Now, again, I do say for now, Governor Cuomo is reevaluating this every 2 weeks, which could mean that, you know, we see another 2 week bump or even longer. But for right now, our plan is that we are coming back on April 29th. But we should be aware, you know, given the severity of this pandemic, it's possible that this could move again. So really, we need to be prepared for both options, especially given our proximity to the AP tests. So we're going to plan to be back in school on April 29th, and at the same time, we also kind of need to do some planning for this contingency idea of, well, you know what, maybe we're not back then. So again, you know, I'm going to have us do a little bit of juggling in that regard. But you guys are AP students for a reason. The AP exams are national, so they are not tied to New York State's schedule. So regardless of what New York State is doing with schools, the AP tests still will go on. Now, they did get a slight date bump by about a week, but we'll talk about that in just a second. If you're not aware, New York State Regents tests have been canceled. So for those of you who are seniors, this isn't going to apply to you so much, but especially for my AP World crew, just be aware you will not be taking the global Regents anymore, which kind of makes this AP test even more important. And it also kind of lets you refocus your efforts too. The AP exam is still happening. Again, that's a national and truthfully even an international thing. So they are not really too concerned about what's going on in New York. It's, you know, the show will go on kind of thing. And it means you need to be ready for it. So I know you guys have kind of been off on your own. I'm really hoping that you haven't just sort of given up on your AP stuff. I know some of you have been studying, some of you have been emailing me some great questions, and that kind of stuff needs to continue. So let's talk about this 2020 exam overall. How is it going to change? How is it going to work? I'm sure you're aware, you know, this is going to be a very different year in many ways. So obviously we're going to have some changes here. This year's AP exams are going to be open book and they're going to be open note. So you will have access to your resources. So for the world folks, I'm really hoping that you've got your books and your note packets. For the psych folks, I'm really hoping that you have your notes at least. Because this will be open book and open note. However, this is not an excuse to not prepare. This is not the kind of test where you can just be like, well, it doesn't really matter if I've got my notes, I don't need to study, because it's still a timed test, and it's actually a very, very short time test. It's only going to be 45 minutes, as we'll talk about, which means if you're spending half of that time just flipping through your notes, desperately trying to find stuff, you're going to be hurting yourself in the long run. Like, you still need to know your information. The open note, open book option should be like last minute resort. So please, please, please do not take this as an excuse not to study. And we'll talk a little bit more about what content is going to be on this later on. They are going to be online, and because they're going to be online, you're going to be able to take your exams on any device. So they'll be compatible with computers, with tablets, with smartphones, whatever you've got, you should be able to do it. It'll just be kind of like an online thing. It's still very, very secure, and the AP folks you can find all sorts of information about test security and all that if you're worried about it. But it's going to be online. It's going to be on your device. What that means is that you're going to be able to type your responses, or you can handwrite them if you prefer, and then you can take a photo of that on a phone or a tablet or whatever, and then submit that to them. Either option will be perfectly valid and will be entirely up to you. Now, if you're concerned about any mobile tools, any connectivity, if your internet's not great, whatever, please reach out to me immediately, or you can go right to the district, talk to any of the IT folks, and just kind of let them know what's up. But you need to have this figured out before May so that you can, do what you need to do as far as this test goes. Now, as far as exam timing, I know I've been giving you guys different dates than what I'm about to say all year long. Obviously, these have changed. So the exams themselves, the AP tests, are going to be given from May 11th through May 22nd. So that's for all the different AP exams, including AP World and AP Psychology. For you all specifically, AP Psych, your test is going to be Tuesday, May 19th at 2 p.m. Whereas AP World, you're going to be Thursday, May 21st at 2 p.m. So those are both afternoon tests. That's very different for AP World. Again, they bumped those dates back a week because Psych and World were supposed to be the week previous. So you do have a little bit more time to prep. That could potentially give us a little bit more time in school if in fact we do go back on the 29th as intended, but we'll see what happens. So just be aware, those are the new exam dates. Now, if for whatever reason you can't make those dates, if there's something that happens with, God forbid, your internet or something like that, they've already set up some makeup test dates for all the different subjects, even, non-world, non-psychology, and those will be from June 1st through June 5th. So again, don't count on that test makeup date, but they do exist now, which is kind of rare for the AP folks. They don't usually do that kind of thing. You're going to be able to take the exam either at home or in schools if we do in fact reopen. So again, they're planning for all options, as we should as well. If we're in school, you'll take it at school. If you're at home, you'll take it at home. And so, options. Just so you're aware, each subject's exam will be taken on the same day at the same time worldwide. So all the AP World tests will be on, right there on May 21st at 2 p.m. All the AP Psychology will be on the 19th at 2 p.m. And that's, again, globally. AP College Board stuff it's a nationally recognized program, but then there's a lot of international schools that will also take those exams. So it's always at the same time. Test security is a thing. Let's move on. Alrighty, what content do I need? So a couple of you have asked me, because I know the AP folks dropped this lovely little quote in there, which pretty much says this, and a lot of you had questions. So the exams will only include topics and skills most AP teachers and students have already covered in class by early March. We know that some students have lost more class time than others, and we want to be fair to all students. So a couple of you emailed me and just said, hey, are we just going to stop learning stuff at this point? Do we just go back and look at the topics that we've already covered? Here's the thing. That's a really dangerous line of thought, because New York State has a very different school schedule than many other states, especially states that are down south. So when we finally closed in March, some schools were not only still going, but also were way farther ahead in terms of content than we were. So at this time, we have no stinking clue what this means. So in terms of, can we leave off everything after World War II for AP World? Can we ignore mental health stuff for psychology? At this point, I do not know, and I'm desperately trying to find out this information, but they're not giving us much to work with just yet. So for now, we're going to just kind of continue on as if we were in school. Let's continue to push into some of the new content and just continue to get a grasp on the whole thing. Because what I don't want to have happen is to have you guys just sort of stop your learning and just concentrate on review and then be way behind when we realize that, oh, actually we did need all that information on the Cold War or on mental health disorders or things like that. So for right now, we're going to continue to push forward as long as we can until I hear otherwise. So in terms of the structure and format of this exam, again, the test itself is going to be open book, open note. That's for both AP World and AP Psychology. So for those of you in World, you'll know that there used to be that huge chunk of DBQ-based multiple choice questions. Then you had your short answers, and then you had your two essays. For Psych, that used to be 100 multiple choice questions, and then your two short answer essays. All of that is now gone. Now all that we're going to have is that both exams, both World and Psychology, are going to have one or two. I'm going to assume two for both of you. Are going to have essentially two free response questions. Each question will be timed separately. And you'll need to submit and write and submit your responses within the specific time that they give you for each question. So the overall test, I can't remember if I've gone over this or if I'm about to. The test itself is going to be 45 minutes long, which means in 45 minutes you need to adequately split your time between the two free response questions, answer it fully, and then also submit it. Oh, there it is right there. So exams will be 45 minutes long and include an additional 5 minutes for uploading. So this whole thing is no longer the 3-hour-long exams that you were probably expecting, or at least the ones that I was warning you about. What you've got here is a significantly shorter test, which, yes, that might be okay, but what it means is that you've really got to show them that you know your stuff in those 45 minutes. And you can't just be sitting there fidgeting with your notes and like trying to find information. Like, you need to know your stuff. Again, you can type on your device, you can upload a handwritten document, they will give you options. They are recommending that students access the online testing system 30 minutes early in order to get fully set up. I would say that's probably pretty reasonable because inevitably there's going to be some internet issues. You're going to have some connectivity stuff, whatever. So because both tests start at 2 p.m., that means that you really want to have that device on and ready to go by 1:30. Specifically, how do you access that system? We really don't know just yet, and that's one of the things that I'll mention, I think, on the next slide. There's a lot of information that's going to be forthcoming in the next few weeks, and one of those things is going to be like how this stuff is going to really work. So when are we going to know more? In late April, so hopefully by the end of this month, the College Board is going to be sending out new information with how to actually get into their testing system. This is new for them. This is obviously new for us, so there's going to be a lot of stuff thrown at probably me first, and then I'll try and digest it and get it out to you. I do know that they're talking a lot about tutorial videos, so hopefully that will help. One of the things that I'm kind of really hoping that we're going to get in the very near future is a bit more guidance as to what kind of like content we need to know. Like, do we need to know about this empire? Do we need to know about this particular psychological idea? Whatever, because it's, again, very, very open-ended right now. As far as what to study, what not to study, what I'm going to recommend is that World folks really, really, really focus hard on units 4 and 5. So that would be 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 5.4. That's not to say that you should ignore Unit 6. In fact, I really hope that you're still doing Unit 6 because there's a lot of important content in there. But for right now, if you really want a particular topic to study, just really, really fight hard on units 4 and 5. For psychology, I'm going to really strongly recommend that you focus on what we've covered in class, especially those bigger units. So things like the research and methodology, the biological aspects of psychology, social psychology, which would have been all the content that I gave you as we were closing and should still be available online. Concentrate on that, if, at least from a studying perspective. At this time, they have not released what exam questions will actually look like. So this has been a big question for a number of you that you've emailed me about this. I'm going to say just assume pretty typical multi-part short answer responses. Those of you who've taken AP World or are in AP World, I mean, think of it kind of in terms of like a pop quiz style question. I don't know that that's the case just yet, but again, they haven't given us much. So, I mean, be prepared for short answer responses that you can, again, really show how much you know. It's not going to be about, just quickly answering the question and moving to the next one. You really want to use the opportunity to be like, hey, I deserve a 5, even with all the craziness that's going on in the world right now. Um, as far as, so, I mean, what we've been talking about so far in this video has just been, what's going on with the exam, but let's just talk about the course itself, because obviously, you are still technically in school. But as New York State expands our time away from schools, we do kind of have to kick in our coursework into the next phase, just to satisfy different requirements and things like that. So I'm sure you're getting a lot of information right now from a number of your teachers, which is good. Starting this week, we are going to occasionally be meeting together via Zoom. I'm sure you've done this with a couple classes. If you haven't, it's super easy. I'll just send you a link and give you a password. You just grab that link, throw it into Zoom, and type in the password, and you get to see my lovely face. But no, it'll be fun. We'll just kind of catch up and check in on everybody to get started, and I can give you some study tips. We can go over some things. Who knows? Maybe I can get creative. We can even do some games. But yeah, we'll start to connect a little bit more. We'll start to get you guys prepped for this test, because I know that's obviously a big concern. It's not going to be a killer time commitment, I promise. We are still waiting on direction from the district in this regard. We're not entirely sure if the district is going to be coming up with like a class schedule kind of thing, or if it'll just be I mean, every class for itself kind of setup. So at this point, I haven't thrown out a date or a time to meet just yet, but I will probably within the next 24 hours or so. As far as what you guys should be doing right now, again, I hope that you're doing stuff on your own, but as far as the AP World folks go, really make sure that you've successfully read up through 6.4, and you've completed the appropriate notes. So for those of you who came in to get the paperwork right before we shut down, or for those of you who've looked online, you had 6.1 before you left, and I gave you 6.2, 6.3, and 6.4. So as long as you have your book, continue to read through all of that, fill that information out. It is important. I can promise you it's important, because it's all the stuff that's relevant to right now. As far as AP Psychology goes, the thing that I gave you all as a parting gift as we were leaving was Unit 14, which is on social psychology. I'm super disappointed that we didn't get to cover this together, because there's a million exciting things that we can talk about with social psychology. But it is a very important unit. It is an 8 to 10%er, which means that it's a good 10th of your test potentially. There's a lot of possibility that social psychology stuff can come up. So really know your social psychology stuff. Plus, it's just ridiculously interesting. At our first Zoom meeting, we'll probably be talking about a little bit of a project that we can do remotely on mental disorders, so we can at least cover some of that information. So just be prepared. Psych crew, you will probably be getting a mental health project. And we'll get there. For both groups, though, for both World and Psychology, study, study, study. Please don't see this as vacation time, because it's not. Really, the way that you should be thinking about this is like, oh my gosh, I have so much more time to study for this exam. Because again, you want to do well on this. If you don't pass this AP exam, this whole course has kind of been for nothing, because this single exam determines whether or not you get this college credit. So please take this time seriously. Use this time effectively. If you don't have an AP review book, I know they're available online. You can find them on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all that kind of stuff. Currently, the postal system is still up and running, so they can send you things for now. So, get some stuff, get some materials. There's some great websites. Just do some Google searches. I mean, we still don't know the whole format of the exam and the questions just yet, but we'll get there. And then last but not least, if you need me, contact me please, there's my email right there, arichmond@wgcsd.org. You guys are more than welcome to send me emails. I've been pretty good about getting back to you as quickly as I can. Um, while still dealing with all of my personal crazy. But yeah, I mean, reach out, guys. We'll all be fine. I wish you all the best, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. So expect some details coming through your email pretty fast here.